about it when we don't have class except one day a week. So I try to keep it at about 45 minutes, but every once in a while, it'll pop up there into a little bit longer of a period, but I don't really like to go over an hour. Okay, so we are on week 13. Coming to the end, my friends. The end of this semester. You should, maybe it's a good time to be thinking about whether or not you're supposed to take English 23-21, which is the second semester course. Not everybody needs it for their degree plan. I think I've mentioned that before. I don't want you to be surprised, because a couple years ago, some people were surprised. And so they're going to put you, if you're doing the biology program through STC, then I think that 23-21 is not an English that you need. And so they're going to put you in a regular English 4 class for second semester. I don't teach that. So I know it's super, you stop crying. Just stop crying. Probably be a lot easier. But anyway, they're going to put you in a regular English 4 class for the remainder of the year. The other students, interdisciplinary and I think it's interdisciplinary ones, those people need the 23-21 second semester. So just FYI, some of you will be leaving us at the term. Doesn't mean I'm not here to help you. It doesn't mean I won't help you with your scholarship applications, or if you're juniors next year, you can take the independent studies class with me if you want. But it just means that second semester, they're not going to pay for your tuition to take a class that you don't need. Okay, so this week we're continuing with Oedipus Rex. Obviously, since we only read the first half up until now, we're developing our analytical reading skills, analyzing works of drama, and this week I'm going to drop the research paper for you because I'm not assigning it for the holiday break. It's not due until the 12th of December, but I know there's some people who might like to spend some time over the break doing it. You don't have to. You can just wait until we get back, and I'm going to walk you through, well, 2 weeks to work on the research paper, and it's pretty much all we'll be doing, that and exam prep. So I'm going to talk about the research paper today, give you the assignment, and then that way, if you do have time and want to get ahead, you have it. So otherwise, you can just put it on the back burner. It's totally fine. But I think it's better if people have it. We have the new hybrid schedule. I don't think I need to say much about that because we've been in it for a day and a half now. So are there any questions about the hybrid schedule? Why that's happening, etc.? I'm going to say no. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so just watch your start times in your classes, and keep in mind that the class periods go until 4 o'clock at the end of the day now, so the teachers don't have all available time afterwards. Yeah, I do think this is going to be it for the school year, because it's kind of back to the way that we had blocks before spring break last year. It's pretty much a block schedule. So I don't think they're going to be changing it much. However, the reason that they have to change it is because of state regulations. They're not just changing it because they can't make up their mind. It's a phase-in process. So there's certain rules that school districts have to follow if they're going to get federal or state funds, and we cannot run the school district without those things. So they just have to follow these rules. So they just want to make sure that the school's as open as possible for the people who want to come back. And so they're switching over from, kind of a home-based schedule where there's shorter classes, etc., to a more on-site based schedule that's more like the blocks. And it favors the students who are here because there's a breakfast time. I mean, obviously you don't need the breakfast time if you're at home, or the lunch, doesn't need to be specific time, but they're doing that because of the students on campus. But like I said, they were expecting 366 students signed up for hybrid on the last survey. And yesterday we had, I think, 35 or 40. So if there's 366, they were expecting half of that group, because the first half of the alphabet is Monday, Tuesday, the other half of the alphabet is Wednesday, Thursday, and on campus, and the rest is at home. But I think a lot of the hybrid people are still kind of not interested in coming, so I don't know why they chose hybrid, but there'll be another survey in December where you can choose for the 4th 6 weeks what kind of learning you want to do. I imagine that by the end of the school year, we'll have a few students. I've noticed in a couple teachers' classrooms, like Mr. Ramos has a period with 1 student, and a couple of the teachers have 1 or 2 students. I can't think that that's super fun for the students. They're just basically on their Chromebooks, but lunches, you don't get to sit with anybody at lunch. It's 1 person per table. So maybe that's the reason why people are not super gung-ho about coming back. I don't know. But yeah, I think this is probably going to be how it will be for the remainder of the year unless they come up with something new. I don't see us, I see us on hybrid to the end of the school year, maybe even the beginning of next school year, depending on how that vaccine works out. If anything else comes up about the schedule, just let me know. Thanksgiving break, I was talking about this a little bit with some people before we started. We have a break next week. I'm not going to make any additional assignments. As a matter of fact, this week is light on assignments. You just have to finish reading Oedipus. I'm gonna have another watch party on Thursday, and I don't have any other assignments. I will go over the research paper, but it's not an assignment to do it over Thanksgiving break. That would be diabolical. I'm not going to do that to you. So it's not due until the 12th, and I'll go through that in a bit. But I just wanted to give you a heads up on the research paper, because in case, if you're going to be really backed up with exams, projects, papers, other stuff, maybe you want to get a head start on it. I don't know. But it'll be out there, and then we'll have until the 12th to do it. We're not going to have additional assignments after Thanksgiving break either. We'll just be focusing on exam prep and the paper. So all of our class periods will be dealing with those 2 topics. I'm not going to give you new material to read. It'll just be review, and we'll talk about the paper, how it's coming, some tips and things to think about, helpful things while you're working on it. Reminder that STC instructor evaluations are open. They're extremely useful generally, but also now, because most of us are teaching virtually for the first time, and feedback would be good. Sometimes I make decisions and I think that they're good decisions for everybody's benefit, but they end up being problematic in a way I didn't expect. So those instructor evaluations, we don't know who put what. We don't know your ratings or any of that stuff, but they do look at them. I talked about that last class period. They do bring up your scores to you in your yearly evaluation, and they look at over time. So like over time, if your scores are going down, like, hey, was this virtual stuff tough for you or what? Or, are they improving? What kind of written comments do students make? They like to see that too. So I think you should go and evaluate your instructors. I personally would like your evaluation, because I would like to know, what I could have done better with this virtual situation. STC's already said that second semester is going to be 100% virtual. So I have to continue with virtual next term. So if there's something I'm doing that is really, putting you out or something, I would like to know it, so that I can, we can always be better. We can always learn. So I think last time they send you a update in your email, the college automatic, there's like an automatic thing. 10 of your students have submitted their evaluations. So 12 of your students, they really want you to do it. I think there were 10 last time I got that email. But do those. I think they'll probably close in a week or 2, something like that. You can click here, or you can also, in the navigation over here is a button. Absence reminder. This is sort of ironic, because I'm going to be saying this to all the people who are here in class, but it's also in the recording for people who aren't here. Just a reminder that if you are not here in class, you need to watch the video of class. Sometimes I get emails where people who are absent or have been absent, like pretty much haven't shown up for any of the Zoom meetings, ask me a question that I answered in the last Zoom meeting. And I don't mind that. I mean, it doesn't make me mad, but it just makes it super obvious that you are not attending to your responsibilities in class. And that makes it difficult for me to do letters of recommendation later, things like that. So if you aren't in class, I'm not mad about that either. That's what the recording is for. people have stuff going on. I don't know. Lots of students are helping their younger brothers and sisters with their stuff, you know, at home. I don't know. But do go and watch the videos. I feel like you're not getting the full experience of class if you don't. You can put me on 1.5 speed. It's okay. I sound like a little mouse, but it's okay. You can do that. But it's important. I wouldn't have Zoom meetings if what we went through wasn't important to the course. So I really keep it to just the stuff that we need to do. But there is a YouTube playlist. If you click right here, all the videos from all our class periods are all here. So you can just click on here and go to, you know, the most recent class period and watch it. They're all under an hour, you know, like they're all, I try to keep them pretty short for a class period. Then of course we don't have class period on Thursdays, so makes up for it. But do keep up with those. Can't think of any more updates. Okay, let me go through the assignments for this week, and then I do have a lesson. I want to talk a little bit and answer any questions that you have about the first half of Oedipus Rex. We went through it a little bit when we were doing the watch party last week. So some people got a little commentary as we did that. Others, I want to clear up anything before you read section, you know, second half. So the assignment for this week is really, the main one is just to finish Oedipus Rex. I put the same PDF here of the text, the same structure chart. This is not an assignment, but I really think this will be a good tool for you for the exam. So if you, as you're reading, you can keep track of characters. You can even, you know, make your own copy and make extra columns to keep track of other information. But it has the page numbers, a spot for you to do some notes. And then I think that not only will it keep you organized when you're reading, but I think that it will also be a good review tool for the exam. So the Oedipus is going to be on the exams. Everything's on the exam. So yeah, so that's there. And then I also made a study guide, if you remember. I don't know if this is helpful to you. Also, it's optional. I'm just giving you tools to help you read and learn. This is just a tool for you to look at either before you read the section or after you read the section. You can use this little study guide. I just put like one focus question or two for each one of the little segments of Oedipus Rex, just so that you can, like, you know, either read it, you know, look at it before you read that section and prepare yourself and be thinking about that, like as a focus, or you can look at it after you read a section. And if you can't answer that question or do that task, like if you read the first episode and you can't characterize Tiresias, you have to go back and reread because that was like the main thing in that section. So this is the tool so that you can have efficient reading and be effective with your reading. This is not something to turn in. It's not something that you have to do, but I'm just trying to give you the best experience of reading the text so that you don't have to go back and like reread it before the exam. You know, one good reading should be sufficient. So those tools are there for you. So finish reading Oedipus Rex to page 1471 in the text. This will go to the end of the play. We are going to have a watch party on Thursday, just like we did last week, to watch the second half of the play. I recommend that I know that it's a short time frame between now and Thursday, but I do recommend that you read the text before you come to the watch party. I'm not going to give you a quiz or anything, but you might be confused if you don't. So you might not, I don't know. But I will stop a couple times in the video, you know, I'll stop the video and have a little chat about what's going on and give you a little bit of insight. But that's optional. You do not have to come on Thursday, but I'm hoping that people are finding it helpful to watch it with me. But you can come any of the times. I have 3 dual classes on Thursday at these different times. So, you know, if you want to come to the afternoon one, depending on when your classes are, whatever, if your teachers are requiring you to go, whatever works for you. And then there's a Zoom link here. I'll send you a notification on Google Classroom, also a reminder tomorrow night, so that if you want to show up and watch that with us. We'll continue watching the 1957 version. I just think it's the coolest version because of the masks that they have and the way that they left the bottom open with their mouths. It's just super intriguing to me, and I think it's cool. So I like that version. The other one's all right. All right. It's easier to understand, so I put that one on there. But either way, you need to watch one of those stage productions, because plays, unlike poems and short fiction, are meant to be performed, and we can't do that right now. Normally, we would get out the togas and we'd be acting some scenes out here in class, but you know, darn you, COVID, stopping our dramatic dreams. So we'll just watch the plays anyway. That's the best I can do with that. And then the research paper, which is not due until the 12th, but I did put it on assignments so that you're aware of it. It's on your radar, and you can either choose to deal with it over Thanksgiving or not. But I'm going to go into that in depth toward the end of today's class period. But that's it for this week. I didn't add anything else in the formatives. That's pretty much it. You know, on Friday, I'm going to give you like a easy formative. That's the way it works on Fridays. So I want to spend a little time talking about Oedipus Rex, the first half. I talked about it a little bit when we were doing the watch party, but not everybody was there. And I prepared a interactive experience for you today. Sounds exciting, right? Okay, let me get it ready. You can't, oh, I forgot to clear it, darn it. I forgot to clear it from last period. I was supposed to do that. Hold on a second. Okay, so I prepared this interactive slideshow thing that I would like for you to sign into. So I'm going to put it in present mode. And if you go to this address up here, you can do it on your phone or you can do it on another tab or something. I have a few little videos with some context and some background about ancient Greece, the Oracle at Delphi, some things like that, so that you can start visualizing some aspects of the play. And also a few interactive slides where we can talk about characterization and some things that happened. As you join any of the slides, you'll see that there's a spot where you can ask a question at any time. So what I like about this particular platform, oh, it's not letting me go to the next. We'll just start on slide 2. At any point while you're down here, it will tell me how many people have joined. So do join. It's just watching. Nobody's gonna harm you. And I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. You could just type. Trying to find a bridge between the fact that people don't like to have discussions, and it's a discussion-oriented class. So this is kind of like my solution today. But you'll see that on all the slides while we're going through them today and the videos and stuff, there's a pop-up section for a question. So if you have a question, it will start to populate here and I can start answering any questions that you have about the text. So one person joined. Go to slides.com/OED1 and you can follow along. At first it will just say watch the video on the instructor slide, but there'll be some slides later where you can give me your ideas and we can talk about some of the things that you're thinking about Oedipus so that we're prepared for part 2. In part 1, we've kind of found out the truth, and really the truth kind of drops in part 1. It's just that it hasn't been proven or completely accepted by the time part 1 ends. So we're gonna have to see how that all plays out in part 2. So, okay, there we go. I'm like, is something wrong if only 2 people joined out of all the people who are here? Okay, so I want to play this video, which is background about Greece and their governmental systems. You will see them mention some of the places that show up in the play, like Thebes and Corinth and other places like that. So it's just a short video, but I like that it's got maps. It'll kind of like orient you in the Mediterranean to where we're talking about with these places, because they're real places. You can go to Thebes today. And so you can kind of see where that is in the geographical context. I'm gonna play that. Please join while I'm playing it. Oh, you know what? I think I have to turn off my AirPods so that you can hear it. This should work. Send me a chat if you can't hear it.
The ancient era is filled with stories from major empires and kingdoms, like the Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Persians, and the Hittites. But the history of ancient Greece took a different route. When we talk about Greece in ancient times, we are not simply talking about a kingdom, an empire, or a country, because they were not organized this way. Greece was formed by a large amount of city-states. Each city-state was like a tiny country. The Greek cities had total sovereignty over their territories because their governments were autonomous and independent. Therefore, a unified Greek state did not exist back then as it does now. Since each city was autonomous and independent, their customs and forms of government could be quite different between them. They could be organized as democracies, as it happened in Athens, where the power was in the hands of the citizens. It could also be an aristocracy like in Thebes or Corinth, where the noblemen had the power. And there were also oligarchies, where a tiny group of citizens ruled everyone else, as it was the case of Sparta. The Greeks from this period did not proclaim themselves as Greeks, but as Hellenic. Based on Greek mythology, Helenus was the son of Deucalion and Pyrrha, the survivors of the flood carried by Zeus and Poseidon. This way, the Greeks were direct descendants of Helenus. Therefore, religion had a major role in the establishment of a common identity between Greek city-states. The same was valid for the Greek language, which, in spite of its variations, was shared by all Greeks. Among the different Greek city-states, some were more notorious than others. Among them, we have Athens, the birthplace of democracy and Western culture. Its name derives from the city's protective deity and the goddess of wisdom. The powerful Sparta, a city with a strong military culture, descended from the Doric invaders, who, according to legend, were the heirs of the great hero Hercules. The city of Thebes, founded where once was the old kingdom of Boeotia, was the home of the mythological kings Oedipus and Cadmus, the city's founder. The city of Corinth, in turn, had a strategic location, separating the peninsula of the Peloponnese from the rest of Greece, and for that, the city was always involved in major clashes. We cannot forget the city of Olympia, home of the Olympic Games. This pan-Hellenic event was crucial to strengthen the cultural bonds between the different cities. The Greek model of city-states achieved major success. The cities were culturally and economically prosperous. However, their success brought a brand new problem: overpopulation. To fix the issue, the Greeks started to launch expeditions to colonize new lands. This movement became known as the Second Greek Diaspora, since the first happened after the Doric invasion. Thus, the Greeks scattered themselves throughout a major portion of the Mediterranean lands. Colonies were established in France, Spain, Africa, in the Italian peninsula, and in the East. The Greek city-states founded where today we see Turkey's coastline, like for instance Samos and Miletus, developed themselves quite rapidly, taking advantage of new forms of knowledge brought from the contacts established with new cultures due to trade activities. These cities became immensely wealthy, and so they were a target for the powerful Persian Empire. The clash between the Greek city-states and the world's largest empire appeared to be unavoidable.
Okay, so that gives you some visuals, also some background about some of the locations that we were talking about in Oedipus, all that good stuff. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Sphinx, and she only features in Oedipus because of Oedipus' great defeat of her. She's the monster that is, when Oedipus comes to Thebes at first, she's the one that is controlling and devastating Thebes. And obviously she's a mythological creature. She has the torso of a woman in Greek mythology. In Egyptology, it's a man, because there's also Sphinx in that cultural history too, but we're in Greece. So she has the wings of an eagle and the body of a leopardess or a lioness. And the Sphinx is a terrible creature who wreaks havoc on the people of Thebes, and until Oedipus can solve her riddle, and he does. And she, okay, in some versions, she eats herself because she would eat the people who couldn't answer the question. So when Oedipus defeats her, she eats herself. There's different things that happen with the Sphinx, but in any case, she's the creature that Oedipus has defeated, so that the people of Thebes are so happy that they make him the new king and let him marry Jocasta and all that stuff. Here is a Greek amphora, which is a vessel for wine or water or something liquid. And here it depicts, this is an ancient image that depicts Oedipus speaking to the Sphinx there. So I just wanted to get a visual on that. The second video I want to show you is about the oracle at Delphi, or in the video they say Delphi. The oracle comes up a few times in Oedipus already. We've already seen it 3 times mentioned in the first half of Oedipus Rex. Chronologically, the first time that it comes up is with Jocasta, who, along with her first husband, Laius, the king of Thebes, consulted the oracle when she was pregnant, because that's what people did. People went to the oracle in order to get prophecies. And the video will explain how all that worked. But they went to the oracle, and the oracle told them that their child would kill its father and marry its mother. Well, that was not acceptable to them, so they got rid of the child, which was Oedipus. And so they put that baby out into the wilderness thinking that it was dead because of the prophecy from the oracle. Another time that we see the oracle in the story of Oedipus Rex so far is that Oedipus, when he was a young man, was told, I mean, he grew up elsewhere, obviously, and he was told that he was adopted, that he wasn't the true son of his parents that raised him in Corinth. And so he goes to the oracle at Delphi to find out if that's true, and the oracle tells him the same thing that the oracle told Jocasta and Laius. You're going to kill your father and marry your mother. Well, Oedipus thinks, oh, okay, well, the people who raised me are my parents. I don't want to kill them, and I definitely don't want to marry my mother, so I'm going to leave. And he rushes off, and that's when he, rushes straight into his fate in Thebes. So the oracle comes up there too. The third place that we see the oracle in this first half of the play is that Oedipus, seeing that his people in Thebes are suffering, as the current king in Thebes, has sent his brother-in-law Creon to the oracle to find out what's causing all this misery and what could they do in order to alleviate it, because the people are suffering. The crops aren't growing, people aren't having children, everything is, barren. And the oracle tells Creon that they have to have justice for the death of Laius in order to lift that suffering. So the oracle comes up a lot, and I just thought I'd give you a little bit of a background video about the significance of the oracle in Greek mythology and in Greek culture, because it was a real thing. And you can go to the ruins of the oracle at Delphi, and they're going to show you images of that. I don't know, I feel like that'd be a good trip to take someday. But let me play the video for you, and you can get some background on that.
Located at the foot of Mount Parnassus, there was a sacred place for all Hellenic people. This place was known as the Oracle of Delphi. Its origin dates to the clash between Apollo and the serpent Python, which was sent by the goddess Hera to pursue Leto, who was a lover of Zeus and mother of Apollo and Artemis. After defeating the terrible viper, Apollo decreed that on that spot, A temple would be built in his honor, and indeed the edification was established. Apollo was also considered the god of prophecy, and due to his mythological origin, the sacred oracle of Delphi surpassed all others in terms of prestige and devotion. The oracle really existed, and was the main religious center for the ancient Greeks. Generals, kings, and noblemen consulted the oracle before making any important decision, whenever it was feasible to do so. No war, alliance, or colonizing expeditions happened without listening to what the oracle had to say beforehand. There was a subterranean chamber inside the Apollo's temple, in which only the Pythonesses, who were the temple's priestesses, could enter. According to the tradition, there they inhaled the gases emanating from the buried body of the python serpent. These gases and Apollo's gift gave the Pythonesses the power of prophecy. Before asking the oracle anything, the visitor went through a process of purification. They had a sacred fountain to clean themselves, which contained the following inscription: "For the good pilgrim, a drop is enough. For the bad, not even an ocean could remove his stains." Then it was necessary to offer a sacrifice to the gods. A lamb or a bird would have been killed, and then a priest searched their bowels, trying to find divine signs. The question posed to the oracle was written on a clay board and delivered to the Pythoness. Inebriated by the gases, the priestess went into a trance and began to mumble cryptic words. These words were written by the priests. The answers delivered were usually enigmatic, mysterious, and often difficult to interpret. Nevertheless, the peoples of that time stated that the prophecies had a high degree of accuracy, and, when they were not confirmed in reality, they believed a misinterpretation had been the cause. The oracle's span of glory lasted many centuries, until its decline arrived. Nero, the Roman emperor, ordered his legions to loot the sacred temple. During the looting, more than 500 statues of bronze and marble were stolen, and then taken to Rome. And with the growth of Christianity, the oracle was permanently closed by the Emperor Theodosius in 385, considering it was a site where superstitions and pagan rituals germinated. But the temple was already in decline even before that. Julian, known as the last pagan emperor, sent an emissary to pose the oracle a question. The priests of the temple sent him the following reply: "Tell the emperor that the glorious temple fell into ruins. Apollo does not have a roof over his head anymore. The leaves of the laurels are silent. The sources and prophetic streams are dead." At the beginning of the 20th century, scholars did not find any signs pointing out to the presence of the famous prophetic gases, concluding that everything was simply a superstition. However, in the final periods of the 20th century, geological studies indicated that the temple is located on top of a geological fault, from which gases are emanated, perhaps with anesthetic and psychotropic effects. The glorious past of the Oracle of Delphi is recorded in works such as Oedipus Rex, in which the oracle prophesies that Oedipus is destined to kill his father and marry his mother. Due to its pivotal importance in the Greek world, the oracle was considered the navel of the world, and in its walls, the famous inscription and the biggest of all advice could be found: "Know yourself."
Know yourself. Okay, so I'm hoping that that gives you a little more of a visual and like an idea of why the oracle is so important to them. Okay, I think that's it for the videos and stuff. So I'm going to switch back to my AirPods. I feel like it's better quality for you. Active part. I want to spend a little time talking about Oedipus as we see him in the first half of the tragedy, because he goes through several different emotions and different personality types. So if you haven't already logged in, I want you to log in and do a little bit of interactive work with me today. This is my way of trying to have a discussion when people don't want to be on their camera and trying to compromise. So what are some adjectives that we could use to describe Oedipus in the first half of the tragedy? Go ahead and post some of them, and then we'll chat about your ideas. What's a word that we would use to describe Oedipus in the first half? I think there's a lot of different words. Yeah, but can you put it in the screen? I want them to pop up for everybody to see over there. Yeah. Are you having trouble logging into that thing or what? Yeah, for sure blind, but not literally, right? Do we fault him for that? I mean, I feel like if anybody told you the news that Oedipus has to consider in the first half of the play, I think most people would be skeptical and not want it to be true. I mean, if somebody said, oh, your wife is your mother and your children are your siblings and all of that stuff, I feel like anybody would kind of, turn a blind eye to that. And it makes it a little bit of a challenge for Oedipus because he has to deal with, do I persist in finding out the truth about my origins or not, right? Yeah. But I feel like we are sometimes blind to the things that we don't want to know. We can do. Ignorant is a good word too. Ignorant, remember that ignorant doesn't mean dumb, it just means unknowing, right? Like it's not available information for me to know that. Arrogant. Why would we say that that Oedipus is arrogant? Is it because of, how he blames other people before he really looks at the truth of the situation? I'm thinking that's what's going on there. I mean, he's the king and he wants to help his people, but yeah, he does deflect. Instead of accepting what he's starting to find out about his past and his current situation, he first says, "Oh well, Creon must be plotting against me," and then Tiresias, the seer, must be plotting against me. So I think that's sort of human nature too, to think it couldn't possibly be my fault. I mean, there's things in life that you just don't want to admit sometimes. What else? What are some other ideas? You can put more than one thing on there. I think he's compassionate. Nobody put that, but I think he's compassionate. He comes out and he's concerned about the people of Thebes and what can I do to help them, and he does send his brother-in-law to go and find out from the oracle what could be the trouble. So, he's at least somewhat compassionate. Anything else that y'all want to add? Okay. What are some adjectives we could use to describe Jocasta? She is obviously older, right? She'd have to be 20 years older than Oedipus, but we can see her demeanor in the first half as she uh, interacts with Oedipus mainly. What are some words we could use to describe her? It takes a second sometimes for the program to catch up. Intelligent, okay. She has a good vocabulary and she's good at reasoning. She tries to convince Oedipus that he shouldn't look too much into what the oracle says because she knows that the oracle can sometimes be wrong. Because she thinks that she and Laius outsmarted the oracle by killing Oedipus when he was born, right? They took him, bound his feet, and left him out in the wilderness to be eaten by animals, but he is rescued and raised by another family. Unfortunate. Yeah, big time. I mean, imagine a situation where, something as horrible as marrying your child and having children with them, is revealed to you years and years later. It's nothing you could do about it. Yeah, it's pretty horrible and unfortunate. What are some other ideas? How is she with Oedipus, her husband? Oedipus is the one who defeated the Sphinx. And we're talking about Jocasta. So they let him marry her. Okay, yeah. Cautious, right? She says maybe you don't have to go all out and try to find out all this information. Oracles aren't reliable, and maybe we just shouldn't pry. Maybe we should just continue. Unhappy with her husband? I don't know about that. I mean, she's got her opinions, but she's just trying to be helpful with him. Or do you mean unhappy in that he is pursuing the information, maybe? Yeah. What can he do, really? She does give him some information. She doesn't mean to, but she's open with him. She tells him all about the her first child and the oracle, what the oracle said and what they did. That's like admitting that you killed your own baby is pretty severe. She says, yeah, we sent him out into the wilderness so that he could die because of the oracle. Um, but one of the things that Oedipus starts to realize is that they bound his feet together, and in some versions they um, literally took a bar and put it through his ankles so that he wouldn't be able, when he was a baby, so that he wouldn't be able to walk, and then hung him up by a tree so that the wild animals would just eat him. Because nobody who wants to go into the forest and literally kill a baby. Not that that's any better visually, but then he was rescued, so he still has those wounds, those scars on his feet, and I think that's what Oedipus means, something like scarred feet. And so that's one of the clues that Oedipus uses to identify himself as the son of Jocasta and Laius. All right, this is the last slide. So at the end of part one, what is Oedipus' dilemma? What does he have to decide? What's his internal conflict? What are your thoughts on that? What is he weighing? To accept the truth, yes. right? He has enough information that he could believe it, but something as horrible as this prophecy, you probably don't want to accept until you know that it's 100% true, right? And so, how far do you pursue it in the question mode, right? Like, how long do you go along with maybe it's not true until there's so much evidence that it is true that you just have to accept that? You know, I feel like that's kind of happening in the political landscape in our country right now, right? How far do you deny a truth, and at what point is it so overwhelmingly obvious that it's the truth that you have to accept it? Yeah. Oedipus, he doesn't have enough proof yet. So he's going to start calling for different people. As a matter of fact, at the end of the first half, he calls for a farmer that reported to the people of Thebes that Laius was dead, was the one person who got away from the situation, and so the report was that it was a band of murderers, but Oedipus says he was alone in the guy that he killed. So if that person comes and says it was a band of people, there were multiple murderers, then Oedipus can, breathe a sigh of relief. Oh, it wasn't me. I killed a different guy at a crossroads of 3 roads. But if that person comes back and says, yeah, well, I just thought it would sound better, there was really only one guy, then there's more evidence that Oedipus is the same person that killed Laius. What are some other things that he has to weigh? I mean, yes, to accept the truth, but what are some other ideas? I mean, what's his obligation to his people? If he doesn't accept the truth and rejects Tiresias and the most recent prophecy and all of that, then his people will continue to suffer, right? So if you're a king, that's your fault if that happens. So he's got to weigh the idea that he can help his people, but the only way he can help his people is through his own sacrifice of realizing this, horrible truth. So what do? He's a rock in a hard place. How do you balance that? How do you handle that? Yeah. Well, okay, I feel like the interactive thing was a dud. I will keep trying some other things. It worked last period. All right, so all of that was just to get you ready to read the second part. I didn't see any questions that popped up, so hopefully you're doing okay with your notes and your reading, or you can come on Thursday and ask more questions if you have them. I want to spend the last few minutes that we have together going over the research paper. So if you go back to Blackboard, you will see that I have it linked right here. Also linked right here, same thing. We'll go over it in more depth when we get back from Thanksgiving break, but again, I'm just giving it to you now as a heads up. If you have time and you want to clear some things off your plate, then you have it. If you want to take a break, I don't blame you. I'm going to try to do that as much as possible, so that's perfectly fine. The assignment is to write a 6 to 7 page research paper on one of the 6 topics that's listed on this page. You need to use at least 3 secondary sources, so that would mean that you're looking up on JSTOR or other scholarly databases to search for information, or you can look online, but it needs to use your tools to make sure that your source is valid. I put in yellow one of the most important things about this paper. The due date for the paper is going to be on the 12th. My grades are due on the 14th of December. So literally you have until midnight to turn in your paper on the 12th. And I have from midnight on the 13th until the end of the day on Monday to get all the grades inputted and averaged out and all that stuff for STC. So pretty much Sunday, I'm going to be reading research papers. Unless you turn it in early, I'll be looking at them. But I just want to make sure that you understand the nature of a research paper and how it's different from an analytical paper, which we had back in the first 6 weeks, because there's not any time for you to redo it. With the analytical paper, there were some people who turned in a paper that was not the assignment. They analyzed a short piece of short fiction, but they didn't use a lens. Those papers got like 50s and 55s. And I offered those students to go back and revise so that they could improve their grades, because there was time to do that, but there isn't going to be time to do that with this paper. So the yellow part there that says this is a research report, here's what I want you to keep in mind. You are not making an opinion about Oedipus Rex. All you're doing is gathering what other people have had to say about a certain aspect of Oedipus Rex and putting it in a report so that it's logically ordered. You're just reporting what others have said. You don't have to advance a theory. You're not saying, I believe this is true. Nothing about your opinion happens in this paper. It's all just reporting. So it's all in gathering information from reliable sources and then organizing it into a coherent logical structure in a research paper. So in your mind, when you're approaching it and maybe thinking about which question you want to answer for your topic, keep that in mind, that there's no room in this paper for you to give your opinion at all. That's an analysis paper. I already talked about the due date there. I won't be able to grade any late papers because I'm making the deadline as long as it can possibly be for you, and still give me the opportunity to read them. There's not going to be a lot of feedback on them either. I'll give you a little bit of feedback, but because I basically have 1 day to grade 40 some research papers, I think, plus you're not going to be revising them, the feedback will be limited. The topics are listed there. Any one of these 6 topics works, or you can also, if you have a different idea that's, similar in depth, then you can email me and propose your own topic if you like. But these are the ones that you have to choose from on the actual assignment. How does Oedipus Rex demonstrate a specific literary theory? So you would research and you would find a literary theory that it exemplifies and tie that literary theory into the play. How does Oedipus Rex deal with the universal issues of society? How does Oedipus Rex convey aspects of psychology? What historical aspects are important influences for understanding Oedipus Rex? How does Oedipus Rex deal with philosophical issues? And to what extent does Oedipus Rex rely on a single literary trope? A trope is like a device. So you are not personally answering this question, whatever question you pick. You're going to find resources that answer the question that you pick. And then you say, well, according to so-and-so, this is the psychological influence on the play. And according to so-and-so, they disagree and they say, so you're just reporting the conversation that's been happening about those topics by other people. The requirements are pretty basic. Actually, this is a shorter paper. It used to be an 8 to 9 page paper, but a 6 to 7 page paper in a second year English course is not long. MLA 8, put it on Blackboard, all that stuff's pretty obvious. I did put some suggested research steps here that you might want to go through in your process. You can look at those and we'll look at them in a little more depth. I will look at drafts. So if you have something that you want me to read over up until Tuesday the 8th. So if you wait until after Tuesday the 8th to work on your paper, that's fine. But I'm not going to make it an emergency for me to give you feedback on it. So I made a little list of things that you can do to prepare for it. And then on the next page is the grading. For STC, there are only 2 papers, and together they form 40% of your overall grade. So it kind of gets averaged with your analysis paper in a way. and that will, those two together will end up being 40% of your grade. Then for East, it's going to count as a major assessment in the third 6 weeks. Scoring rubric is there. I'll go into that after Thanksgiving. And then here are some different sources. If you've never used JSTOR or some of the data, databases and the subjects before, I'll do a little demo on that. But I'm assuming that if you had 1301 and 1302, you probably know how to search the databases in a university library. There are some research guides, some other things here to help you how to do MLA. But I think most everybody did an all right job with MLA in the first paper, so I don't think that's an issue. Are there any questions about the paper? I know I'm going over it just kind of generally. But we'll have some time to discuss. We'll have 2 weeks in December when we get back, and those 2 weeks will be focused on how I can help you with the paper. I'll do some little seminars about that, research and writing body paragraphs and stuff like that, organization, and we'll also be reviewing for the exam. So, are there any questions? All right. No questions? Okay. So maybe I'll see you on Thursday for the view party. If not, I hope you all have a good Thanksgiving. And the next time I see you for class will be Tuesday, December 1st. I think that's the right date, the Tuesday that we get back from Thanksgiving. So if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll see you then. Bye.